this time, and I'm here with Thom Black. Thom Black, welcome. And what would you say on this day in times like these? What's your advice as a creative? You talk to other creatives all the time, and we live in an interesting, unprecedented time. What is your advice to writers this week, this month, this next 6 months?
That's really a good question, Michael. And I think that for many creative people, they live with an idea, sometimes for their whole life, but they're not quite sure how to birth it, how to get it going, how to get it moving. And so I can't tell you every day I have, and you do, Michael, this is your business. How many times have you talked to people and the first thing they say is, someday I'm going to write a book? I think what makes this time unusual for all of us who are creative people is that today is someday. That we're living in a moment where the stories that people have to tell have never been more important to be out there, to be alive, to have their own sense of identity and shape. And people are finding themselves maybe loosened from a lot of the responsibilities they've got. There's no place to go.
They're working from home. Their kids are at home. They can't take their dog outside for walks.
That's right. And so for a lot of the listeners that are listening to us today, this is the day they've been waiting for. This is the time they now start to figure out, what is their story? What does their book look like?
Well, Warren Buffett, just to use the metaphor of the wolf of Omaha, the Oracle of Omaha, is buying up companies right now. So some people are shrinking in fear and some people are seeing opportunity.
That's right.
I had an author tell me yesterday, because their financial situation had changed, she's like, I'm going to wait till the fall to write my book. Here's the downside to that, is those that write their book now are going to be ready to launch in the fall. And all the events that got canceled are going to need speakers on their stages. So if you want to be I've got a lot of stages we can put you on in the fall, because a lot of people that procrastinated didn't have their book out. They thought, I'm going to wait and see what happens. But those that pull the trigger now, I know you're working with a lot of writers. We're working with a lot of writers and publishing them. Some of them are bringing their own books. Most of them are getting their books ghostwritten. What would you say? Because I know you go out to your car sometimes. There's a lot of business cards of people saying, just call me, because they've heard about what you've done for people. They love how you write the book backwards. And literally, a lot of the world's paralyzed in fear. There's a lot of uncertainty. We saw the biggest dive in the market since Black Friday '87 this week. And speak from the heart a little bit, because I know you come from a place of caring about people and families and where we're headed.
Well, I think the first thing that both you and I would say is that we understand that this is going to that the months ahead for very, very many people are going to be times that they've never experienced before. And so it's going to tap the resources in a way they never thought. It's going to exhaust people's resources. So you can't not respect that. So for many people, even though the opportunity is there, financially the opportunity is not available to them. And nobody would ever want anybody to do something that would be unwise financially. So we respect that, and we pray the best for those folks.
I think we're going to have some masterpieces born out of this, though. How does somebody grab the pen and get creative when their life's been disrupted and they've run out of toilet paper?
Yeah. But I want to finish what I was saying on the other question, which is, but there are people out there whose resources are just not that. They wanted to write a book for a long time. They did not know how to trigger it and when to start it. But the resources won't be put upon the way others find this situation. And for those people, this is an opportunity that they need to be serious about. Because to your point, really nice. Well, it's funny because even books we were working on, Michael, in the last month have redefined themselves because of the moment that we are finding ourselves in. So the opportunity for somebody to write a book that will matter, that's what everybody wants to do. They want to write a book that matters. And there is going to be a lot of opportunity to do that over the next 2, 3, 4, 5 months, because things are just different and other. But people will know. Here's what I find, Michael, you do too. That is that when someone wants to write a book, they get up and they say, I got to do this. And so if you're finding yourself, I got to do this, then you need to get a hold of Michael or somebody, somebody. You got to find somebody, because this is a moment that you just can't afford to waste.
Maybe there's a reason you're being asked to write this book, and even being pushed by your family and your higher power and others. Here's a question, Thom. Everybody wants to write the next classic. But how do we, in a 24/7 news cycle that's fake news, bad news, whatever news, write something that's evergreen and timeless without pinpointing? You know, if you wrote a book on Y2K in 1999, you know, it was a bestseller, but then, you know, January 2nd, nobody cared because we knew it was a hoax.
Unbelievable. I think the reason why this time is so significant for many, Michael, is that I have found always that the best books come out of something that's authentic. Where a lot of people come to us and say they want to write a book, but the more you talk to them, you realize there's nothing really to write the book about. We really got to dig.
They don't have an idea.
That's right. A moment like this is pushing people into spaces in their own heads, in their own realities, that's very authentic. Mm-hmm. And so the best book that they might ever write will come out of a time like this. And of course, that's why we're here, you know, is to be able to help them find what that thought is and how to structure and put it together. And there was one more thing that you said, I think, that's also important. And that is that for most writers, it should never be the goal to write a masterpiece or a classic. It should, first of all, to write something that you connect with authentically. Mm-hmm. I love this. I love what we have done here. Mm-hmm. And then secondarily, to be able to put it in one person's hands, one at a time, so that when a person absorbs it, they go, wow, this mattered to me. This affected the way I thought. It made me cry. I got it. It helped me. When one person says that, you realize that the whole book has value. And then the more people that say that, the better it is. But it always happens one person at a time. So we always want to understand what our audience is and what they're wanting and needing from us as we write the story.
What does it mean to write a book backwards?
I spent decades writing books like everybody else did, which is to write a book, have an idea, believe everybody was going to read it in the whole world, you know, yada, yada. And then after having several garage fulls of books, I realized that I needed to have a better idea on who was going to read my book. There are so many different spots and places. I mean, in little groups, but these little groups are not small at all. And so what I do now is whenever I get involved in a project, I start from who is going to be the reader of the book, who's going to buy the book, how are they going to buy the book, what is the need that the reader has for this book. And then because eventually once you get a book done, you want to be able to place it and sell it in the marketplace. Well, if you know who you're going to sell it to, who the reader is going to be when you start, then it would be wise for any of us to write a book for those readers. So we do it backwards. Who's going to buy the book? Who's going to read the book? And then what does a book need to be for those people to buy it and read it?
Recently, I was in London at the book show, and I was sailing down the Thames River, and our tour guide, we looked over there and we saw a bar, just a really old, iconic European bar. And he said that's where Ernest Hemingway did most of his writing. And I know you love to quote Hemingway a lot. He has a lot of quotes for writers. He's notable for saying, sit at the typewriter and bleed. He said there's nothing to writing, just sit at the typewriter and bleed. And he said 90% of the iceberg you never see because it's below the water. And you talk about this Michelangelo principle of chopping away and carving away, because you want writers to actually overwrite and then come back and rewrite and then make it bleed. So tell me about less is more, because I know in this marketplace, everything's and everybody's shouting, read my book, and everybody's going #1 on Facebook with their book. And nobody cares at this point because they don't have the bandwidth to care about your memoirs or your pancreatic whatever.
Yeah, it's funny because so much of what you think, what you thought you knew about this is counterintuitive. in terms of what it really is. So I've come to discover that the most successful books that either I have done or other people I know around me have done have been very actually small books. And that's for a number of reasons, by the way. When I mean a small book, I mean small in size and even small in page count, for a couple of reasons. First of all, most people don't read books. And so you have to help them along. And they simply won't pick up a big book. They'll buy the big book, they'll put it in their bookcase, but they don't ever read it. So I, about 10 years ago, fell in love with how strong small books can be. And I could send you, we could send readers a list of 20, books that sold, 10, 20, 30 million copies, and they're like 130 pages long. It's shocking.
It's very, very apropos. You were going to say something there.
Yeah, but the second thing is that when we jump over the tracks to the other side, which is, okay, now the book is out, how are we going to sell the books? I've always found that the people who are my greatest sales people are the people who bought the book.
That's exactly right. To take someone from a reader that's a tire kicker to an advocate is a whole process as well, and we're going to get into that.
That's right. So if the book is small, they're more likely to buy books for their friends.
Purple Cow is a perfect example. If you haven't read Purple Cow by Seth Godin, the point of the book is, and all his books are short, 14 times New York Times bestseller. He has my haircut and my glasses, and his point is everybody's got a brown cow. You need to have a purple cow. And I think it's fitting for this. Here's a little joke I said the other day. I'm out for my run, Tom, in Frisco, Texas, and I see all these couples walking through the city of Dallas because curfew, we're quarantined.
Yeah.
All the restaurants and bars are shut down. The churches are shut down.
Yeah.
And I made a statement on my Facebook. I predict, and here's my prophetic insight. 9 months from now, we will have a new baby boom. And then I had 3 or 4 comments on the Facebook that says they will be called coronials.
Oh, that's very good. Yeah, that's very good.
So one thing I'm going to give is some content here on how to have a 90-day content creation strategy. I would say take advantage of this time when you're sequestered, quarantined, or you don't want to get arrested or beaten in the streets by security, whatever the case may be. A little fun there. Yeah. Be creative, but go on and do some Facebook Lives. In fact, I'm announcing a 90-day video challenge for a lot of our authors and people that aren't totally comfortable with going live. And I'm just going to say that the churches and houses of worship that hadn't begun live video streaming, I guarantee you last Sunday, there was a lot of screaming and pleading for these pastors and ministers who all of a sudden you can't meet, and their congregants, what they do, a conference call.
Yeah.
They weren't ready. And so Zoom stock was up 70% in 1 week. So I'm going to say this, Wayne Gretzky said it, go to where the puck is headed. Don't go to where the puck is now. Let's think, and Tom, you're going to help us here in the next 6 Fridays. We're going to do this conversations with Tom and Michael because you've always been a forward thinker. Barna Research, there's a story there we won't get into, but you've always been a forward thinker and helping people ask the question, why not and what if? So that's kind of where I want to go with this. I want to help people discover their passions. Check out Tom's site, harrymoon.com, the Harry Moon Honeymoon books, bestsellers, and these are just great creative fun. And for the kids that are locked in, they're glad they've got this.
So let's give them a thought in getting them ready for next week.
Okay.
And that is that it's most likely that if you've always felt that you wanted to write a book, and you've always felt that you had the idea in you to write a book, it's most likely that the book that you're going to write is other than the thing that you think right now. That the best thing that you need to be considering now is for you to move into a space that's a bit empty. That you're going to set aside some of the things that you thought, some of the ideas that you're bringing to this moment, and you're going to step into a space with us, and with no preconceptions, with not dragging an idea that's been banging around like a tin can or behind you for the last 10 years, but you're going to stand on top of all those thoughts and ideas, and you're going to take a deep breath, and you're going to say, okay, what is it I'm supposed to do? And I'm telling you, that is a breathtaking space to be in. And what they will find both about themselves and about the possible book they write is significant.
You're all about helping people discover the white space and looking at that canvas a little differently. So
yes, white canvas, baby. It's a blank, empty canvas. And also, I will say as a postscript that some of you will be bringing an idea that is valuable and worthy of pushing forward. And at that point, we want to take a fresh look at it, put a new set of clothes on it, and see what it looks like as we walk around the idea. And it may emerge as something different as well.
I think that's very powerful. Necessity is the mother of inventions. And I think there's going to be.
You should put that on a shirt. That's great. What was that? It was.
I think there's going to be a lot of new industries and companies born out of this. And
oh yeah, and a lot of good books, a lot of good stories.
A lot of great.
Excited for them. I'm very excited for them.
There will be a lot of crappy books, but a lot of great books that will stand out among the crowd. Thom, thanks so much. And stay safe, hunker down.
Get outside. Get outside and breathe. The sun is still there. The trees haven't moved.
Be prepared. Washy.
Yeah.
Thanks, Thom.
Okay, baby. Thanks.
Have a great one.
Goodbye. Bye-bye.